So you want to compete in jiu-jitsu. So we have a relatively new school, and we get a lot of students that they want to compete. They want to be competitors, want to be world champions. They want to be Naga champions. When it comes to competing, it's not something that you take lightly. Competing is hard. But not only that, you want to be prepared. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see with new people in jiu-jitsu is they just want to jump into a competition. They're not ready, they're not prepared, they have no game plan. They're like, I just want to do it. I just want to get it over with. What happens when you go to a competition without a plan and you get smashed? And then you hate it, and then you never want to do it again. Some of the best times on the mats or competition mats that I've ever had were not even times that I won, but they were times that I executed everything that I wanted to do. And that makes you feel good. That gives you a level of confidence because you had the discipline to come up with a game plan and execute it. And if you just run into a competition without the experience that you need, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not even going to know what that feels like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't know what they don't know when it comes to competing. They just think you just sign up for competition, show up, and then everything's going to fall into place. And it's one of those things, like Coach Steph was saying, you have to have a relative game plan, even though it may not go as planned. You have to have some type of scaffolding for what you're going to do in that competition, what you're working towards, what's your strength, right? How are you going to accumulate points? How are you going to get to takedown? How are you going to get a submission? And I think a lot of times people are just like, oh, you just sign up and show up, and that's it. And they just don't know what they don't know, right? And it's one of those things, you have to teach them as an instructor, as a coach. Like, people train for these for months or months, depending on the preparation for that competition, with a game plan, with a rule set in mind, with specific training in mind, right? To improve on certain aspects of their game, right? Whether that be for the rule set or whether that just be certain things they may need to work on. So it's not just like, I just sign up and jump in, right? You can do that. It's it's gonna be a crapshoot, but I think having a more specific set amount of time to train for a competition, direct things you're working on, a direct game plan will give you more guidance. Again, will it go exactly as planned? No, probably not. However, it's good to have a game plan. It's good to have things you're looking for, things you want to hit or execute during this competition.
So whenever we have new students or beginners, and they're like, I want to compete, there's a couple of simple things that we kind of ask for before they do a competition. Have you been here more than 6 months? Have you been doing jiu-jitsu more than 6 months? Are you training minimum 3 times a week? Those kind of things help our students kind of know am I ready to dedicate the time and energy that I need to do a competition? If you've only been training a month or two, if you can only make it to 1 class a week or two classes a week, are you really ready to compete? And so we always try to encourage get those things in place first, and then we can start looking at signing up for a competition. The other thing is, as a competitor, you're going to want to have really hard and tough rounds. You're going to want to get beat up, because if you're not getting beat up at your school or your academy, then when you go out there and compete where somebody is going 100% on you, it's gonna kind of shock you, and it's gonna scare you almost. So you need to be training with people that are making you work, that are aggressive, that are simulating that energy that you're gonna feel in competition. And if you don't go to a school like that, you don't want to just be smashing through all of the people that are just there for a hobby or just there to have fun. So these are all things that you really need to think about. There's always places that you can cross train, or you can, get that harder training. But if you are thinking about being a competitor, those are things that you need to think about. When you compete, you have to be a little bit selfish, right? You have to focus on your training, focus on your points, focus on your game plan. And you need to be in an environment that supports that.
Yeah, agreed. You have to be in an environment where that supports competitors, competitions, and you need those hard rounds. Like it's a old saying. It's like train hard, fight easy, right? Uh, Obviously, the competition is not going to be easy. However, you want to experience those hard times, those hard trainings, those difficult moments on the training mats. You don't want the first difficult moment or first time you're putting in a bad spot on the competition mats, or the first time you accidentally get kneed or slapped or punched or what have you. Like, you want those things to happen in the training room, so you can experience them, know how to handle that, know how to control your emotions, and know how to keep pushing through, because those things are going to happen in competition, right? Competition, it's very unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen or what position you may end up in. So it's good to experience those difficult, hard times in training, and having people that can push you, having people that can beat you up a little bit, put you in bad spots, and you'll have that experience and that confidence knowing you've experienced all those difficult, hard training sessions leading up to the competition.
Another thing is like positional training, positional rounds. Putting yourself in the worst possible position. Somebody on your back, somebody on mount, somebody holding you in closed guard. All of those things could potentially happen in a competition. And if you don't know how to escape, or you don't know how to handle being in those positions, when you get into a competition and somebody mounts you and they just stay on you for 4 minutes, it's going to be frustrating. So work on those positional rounds. Put yourself in a bad spot. Put yourself in a submission and really learn how to get out. And then when you do that in the training room, whenever you go to competition, you'll be like, I know this escape. I've been here before. I know what this feels like. And that's really important when it comes to competing, because we've had people, like even one of our competitors, that he was brand new, like a white belt. He had been training for like 6-7 months. He did a competition, and he's done multiple competitions since then. But when he looks back at his first competition, he's like, I had no idea what I was doing. But in his mind, he was like, I was prepared. I worked so hard for that competition. I was ready. But now looking back, he's like, wow, I wish I would have worked on this, or I wish I would have worked on that. And that's actually the beauty of competing. It really highlights your weaknesses and your strengths in jiu-jitsu. So the more competitions you do, the more you're able to like identify, like, this is the area that I'm weak in, or this is where I don't know how to escape, or this is where I kind of get stuck. And then after the competition, you're able to fix it. You're able to learn. You're able to like grow. And every time you compete, it should get better.